Never. Thanks for watching. No, really though. There are a couple of times you should kick a generator, but I think one of the biggest complaints that I normally see is survivors overcommitting to kicking gens. Also, I didn't say it. Hi guys, Scott here. Today we're going to talk about whatever the fuck I'm talking about. Today it's going to be when should you kick a generator? And there are a couple of times you should do it. And you might think, well, okay, I have like Pop Goes the Weasel perks might affect this, but even with perks that involve kicking generators, even then, most of the time you still actually shouldn't kick a generator, but there are a few exceptions. So let me just not drag this out any further. The times you should kick generators. Right after you get a hook or something like that, and there's no immediate chase to be found. If you hook somebody and there's a gen right next to you, I mean, just kick it because you're not losing distance to a chase. It's not going to cost you any more than 2 seconds. Then you might get a couple of seconds of regression out of it. No reason not to, really. So that's not really a big deal. Additionally, the only other time I would consider kicking a generator is at sort of an end game scenario where there's like, you've got a 3-gen and the survivors are playing sort of stealthy. Now, in this case, they're not going to be super aggressive on the gens because they're trying to stay alive. They're trying to stay stealthy and maintain control of this 3-gen as much as they possibly can. So in that scenario, sometimes when you're not actively chasing someone, you can kick one of those generators, and that is not really to regress the gen. It's to be an indicator of that people are nearby. Because if you go and check it 10, 15 seconds later and see it's not regressing anymore, well, now you know to start looking in that area because there has to be someone there that just stopped it. That's actually very useful. So it's not even as a regression tool, it's a marking tool. And for that reason, it's pretty useful in that type of scenario. Or if you figure someone's hiding on a gen, you want to try to find them or give yourself more confirmation that they are in fact there. And that's pretty much it. Those are pretty much the only 2 scenarios you ever actually kick a generator. Generators simply regress way too slowly for it to be worth ever doing. It takes 2 seconds to actually do it. It takes a survivor a millisecond to cancel it. It just ends up really not ever being worth it. And a big thing is people always say like, okay, what about like, Pop Goes the Weasel or something like that. It's funny because even with Pop Goes the Weasel, a lot of the time it's still not worth it. You should still follow the basic rules there. Now, obviously, if you hook somebody and there's a gen near you and there's nothing else to do, then yeah, it's a great perk and that's when you'll get immense value from it. But something I will see, and this is such a big mistake, I will see killers abandon chases to go kick a generator. And to make it clear, downing people is the biggest game delay you could possibly do. It occupies at bare minimum 2 people, unless they have like deliverance or something. It occupies the guy on the hook and it occupies the guy saving. That is far more game delay than any perk can ever do. Downing people is the best game delay perk in the game. So if at any point you abandon a chase to go kick a generator, even just look at the raw math of it. So let's say you have 30 seconds left in your pop and you start approaching a generator and you see a survivor start to run away from the generator. Now, obviously, like you're not going to be going in a straight line at it. So let's even play it conservative. Let's say you just have to take a second detour, just like a 1-second detour to go kick the generator instead. And then you have to spend 2 seconds actually kicking the generator. So during that time, survivors moving 8 or 4 meters a second, they've traveled 12 meters. And that value is actually pretty significant because that's also the same amount of distance they get after you hit them. And I don't know if you've noticed this before, but it can be agonizing how much distance survivors get after you hit them. It takes like 20 seconds to catch up. So if it takes 20 seconds to catch up when you M1 a survivor, or in this scenario, it's the same exact amount of distance gained, so it's still going to take you 20 seconds to catch up. What does Pop Goes the Weasel do? It removes 20 seconds of progress from a generator. So you're not really accomplishing anything. You're basically trading away a potential aggressive play that could lead to snowballing and a lot of other things to just a passive game gen slowdown thing for the exact same amount of time, with the added detriment that you don't have any snowball potential from that. Now, obviously, there's a couple of niche scenarios, like if it's the last gen left and it's at 99%, it might be better to just do it. But even then, sometimes it's not. Sometimes starting a snowball could be even better than just actually getting that generator down. So, even with perks like Pop Goes the Weasel, or, whatever perks that you have, like, surveillance or anything that involves that stuff, even with all of that, it still mathematically ends up not being worth it. And again, I know it's not exactly cut and dry. It's not the same thing hitting and downing players compared to stopping gen progress. It's really not the same thing. But it does work out a lot of the time. I'd say most of the time that you would have gotten more slowdown if you just didn't abandon the chase to go kick the gen and then you just down the survivor instead. Because I don't think people realize how much time is wasted if you spend even 3 seconds going in a different direction to stop something. The survivor has now gained 20 seconds of distance on you. It's so much time. So precious moments like that you don't have the time. You can't afford to kick a gen. So even with Pop Goes the Weasel, I think a lot of the time it's still not worth it. So the bank basic blanket statement. That's a tongue twister. The basic blanket statement is kick generators when there is nothing better to do, and kick generators for detection. Typically, a simple rule is if you are not going to lose distance in a chase with somebody that you could have been starting, then you can kick a generator and it's fine. Any other scenarios, you should not be, because chasing survivors and downing them is the best game delay that there is. So that is it. Kick a generator in basically those two scenarios, and that's pretty much it. Do I think it's okay gen regression is that weak? No, I've been complaining about this for years. I think every killer knows that gen regression is just really, really not strong. And I think they should probably buff the base regression to like at least ruin speed. It still wouldn't quite be survivor progression speed, but at least it would be far more worth it to actually spend time kicking generators, because somebody did the math. If you, I saw this on Reddit, if you kick a generator, it needs to regress for 32 seconds for it to be considered a time gain. If you take the amount of regression it has and you multiply it by 4, so you make it generator seconds, because that's how you measure time. The killer's time is 4 times as valuable as the survivor's time. And it would have to regress for 32 seconds, that usually doesn't happen because the survivor would just run and tap it. So that's basically it. Kick gens when you're not going to lose distance in a chase, and kick gens for detection. That's it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.